Alright guys, so this is going to be the long-awaited review of the Komatsu PC2000. This one's made by NZG and it's 1/50th scale. It's a very large model, and the reason for that is because in real life the machine is a pretty nice sized machine. So if you're not too familiar with these type of models and you see it's very large, it's because the real one is very large. So I'll start off with the features real quick. It does have some very cool ones. The first one, which maybe some people will know that it has, but if you don't know, the access ladder or stairs to get into the machine will actually come up and down. And it's on a cylinder, so you could place it any which way you want. If we come over to this side, you could see the bucket will curl in, and then it will curl out. And it has very good functions like that. It curls out and curls in to a very nice degree. Stick will curl out, and you can see it almost makes it flat, makes it good enough. And it will come in to an alright position. I mean, this machine isn't one to really do such precision work, so to say. The boom will raise, and I wish it would raise a little bit higher. Whenever I always judge how much it raises, I judge if the cylinders go completely vertical or not. It would be nice if it would raise a little bit higher. The reason being is because if you picture it under a truck like this, I'm assuming he'll have to bring his stick out pretty far if you want to display it. And it will lower really deep. It will go as deep as the cylinders will go. So I'm not going to do that for you right now because I just don't have anything available to do it with, but you could take my word for it, so to say. Now, we'll actually get into the review now. One of the coolest things that I find about this model, and this is probably going to be odd of me to say, but it actually is the tracks. I really like the way the tracks look. They look really thick and heavy, the way that they should look on a machine of this size. Now, as for if they roll, but they're like pretty much all NZG tracks out there right now. I really wouldn't advise anybody, so to say, to roll them, because the way that they're linked, they probably can break very easily, and they'll probably be able to go back on if you assemble them, but I really wouldn't suggest it. The rollers on this model, they don't necessarily roll like other NZG models do, but even if they would roll, I wouldn't suggest rolling the tracks. The tracks are going to be thin because the machine itself just works on a real hard surface, so there's really no need for wide tracks. So that's if you're wondering. And the pads themselves have a very nice finish to them and a very nice detailed look to them, which I myself really enjoy. The frame on the undercarriage underneath looks very well. It looks like a real heavy-duty look, and if we turn the model, get a better look at the whole track frame, and it is very detailed, as you would expect out of an NZG model. If we turn the undercarriage, you could see the drive motors here, and I mean, if you really don't know what they are, they're probably going to be questionable, because they're really not the most detailed things. I'll turn it so you can get a better look. But those are the drive motors if you don't know, and they're not the most detailed things around, honestly. They just look like blocks of metal, but it's better off having them there than nothing. Coming more towards the top of the machine and onto the side. Looking at the side, the paint finish and everything is super nice, exactly what you would expect out of an NZG model. And I'll just bring the ladder down real quick. By the way, the ladder is all metal, along with all the railings here. So all the railings are metal, and they're very thin, which makes them look nice as well. I feel like if they were plastic and thicker, model really wouldn't have that good of a look. You have another escape ladder here, which is also metal, which is really cool. The decaling is super crisp, as you would think it would be coming from NZG. And pretty much what I'll do now is bring you around the machine, and then I'll go from the top down. So show you the counterweight now, which is probably the design of the machine actually made me buy the model. Looking at the counterweight, you could easily notice that there is a walkway around this machine. The counterweight itself is pretty plain. When I show you above, there is some texture to it, but pretty much all you have are the railings on top of it and the Komatsu decal and the red stripe right there and right there. I don't know if those are actually there to represent a light or not, but those are there, and they do, I guess, give it an interesting look. This side of the model is also a very interesting look. Whoever designed this machine definitely took the design into consideration, because it is a very cool design, and I feel like it's almost there to take less weight off the machine. Everything's really small on it and compact. You can see the railing comes around the rest of the machine. That's because the whole walkway comes around the machine. I personally think that's just the coolest thing about it. And it's all flat over here like the other side. The decaling as well. If you look over here, as the rest of the machine, the vents continue over here, and over here you have a ladder to get up over here, and it is metal as well. And if you want a size comparison, it's extremely thin and it looks great. Over here you have 3 lights up there, which is really cool. Just be careful not to break those off. And if we look from the front of the machine, it has a very nice look. Just looking in, you can see the hydraulic lines leading to the cylinders here, and you can see the hydraulic lines back there, and the swing motor right there. Underneath the cab, 4 lights right there, which is also really cool. If you notice, this machine has a lot of lights on it, even on the boom. And now I will raise the camera up, and I'll show you the top of the machine and around the cab and whatnot. So zooming in over here, you can see the catwalk around the cab is very detailed, and it's very easily noticeable that there's a lot of anti-slip textures on there, which gives it a very nice look. Looking in the cab, you could also see that it is very detailed. So if you're someone that really likes the insides of cabs, you'll love this. If you look, you could even notice on the inside of the cab that it has that anti-slip texture in there, which is really cool. And even has another seat right there, which is also pretty cool. Behind the cab, you could see the door to get in right there, and the window right there. It would have been really cool if they made that door able to open, but you know, it really doesn't matter that they didn't, honestly. Down here, you could see the stairs that get up to the cab, and like I said, and like you were able to see, the engine grills, so to say, go around just about all the machine. On the back, you can make out the doors and the grills, which is really cool. And up top, you have your exhaust stacks right there and the intake, and you also have a warning beacon, which is really cool. And you can see there's also one on top of the cab, and there's the intakes. I guess it'll be easier to show it from over here. Once again, more doors to get into the engine house and all the circuit boards and whatnot. And if we look in here, you can see a lot of anti-slip texture over here, and just a whole bunch of detail over here. There's actually 2 swing motors, so there's another one there. Looking inside the catwalks that go along the side of the machine, all the anti-slip texture. So a lot of detail was put into this model. Looking at the boom now, the boom is obviously going to be a mass excavation type, since it is a mining machine. You could right off the bat notice the lights up here and the caps to hold in the pins, and interestingly enough, they actually have bolt detail on there, but I'll get to that in a second. If we look on the back of the boom, you could see the casted hydraulic lines running up top. I think that since basically every detail on this model is casted in, it blends with it very well, and it gives it a very nice look. When you do reach the cylinders up top, you can see that the rubber hydraulic lines branch off the casted ones into the cylinders up here, which will move the stick. Now, one thing I have to say, when you do go to move any cylinders on this model, if you grasp anything by the cylinders, watch out you don't break any of these, because one on my other cylinder, which I will show you, broke off. It didn't break off, it actually cracked, and it cracked very easily. And another thing you notice is that there's actually 2 cylinders to move the stick, which is pretty cool. Coming to the stick, the stick is very short. It's really nothing crazy, but if we look closely, you can see that they use the friction pins, so there's really no huge rivet there, although they aren't painted. And looking right here, you can see the bolt detail for the cap to hold the pin on the reel machine. The other side of the boom and stick are exactly the same, if you're wondering what they look like. Looking on the front now, if you look closely, you can see that mine actually cracked, and that was because I think I was pulling the stick out. So you gotta watch out for that. It's probably really the only most delicate thing on the model. Looking towards the bucket, the linkage is quite the heavy-duty linkage. Here's pretty much the only pins that aren't friction pins. So, I mean, if you have Komatsu paint, I would suggest painting it. If you don't, it's probably not the biggest thing in the world to worry about. The bucket itself has extremely large teeth, which I like a lot. Really nice wear plating all around. My favorite thing would probably be the teeth. I like how they are, you know, big shanks, so to say. And if we zoom in on them, you could see that they are pretty detailed, and I like them a lot. I really like the look of the bucket. It's a really large bucket. Underneath the bucket, you could see a lot more of the wear plating, and there's the underneath of the teeth. You could also see that it has a guard, so to say, on the back of the stick, which is cool. So if anything happens to pop up to the back of the stick, there's something there protecting it. And that pretty much sums up the review. It's a very large model. It honestly probably wouldn't fit into many people's collections. If you have a mining collection, I would highly suggest getting it, or even if you just like the model, because it is a very cool design model, I would highly suggest getting it. It retails for around 230 bucks, which in my opinion is more than reasonable because of its size and detail. It's really not a cheaply made model at all. You definitely get your monies out of it. But being that you get this, you know, it's pretty tempting to buy haul trucks. So I would also buy some haul trucks with it, which I'm wondering whether I should do or not. But if you're thinking about it, I probably wouldn't think about it anymore, and I would just go ahead and buy it. So there's my review of it, and I hope you liked it.